The house is quiet when she arrives. Too quiet, maybe, for something so small. She is barely more than a handful, white fur brushed with soft gray, ears too big for her face, eyes wide with the particular fear of a creature who does not yet know where the exits are. Every new home feels like this at first. The smells are wrong. The light falls at strange angles. Even the silence sounds unfamiliar. She presses low against the floor and moves the way frightened things move. A few inches, then stop, then listen. That is when she sees him. He is lying near the window, gold fur catching the afternoon light, a shape so much larger than anything she has met before. To her, he is not a dog. He is a mountain that breathes. She freezes. Her fur lifts along her spine. Her body drops lower, back curving, legs coiled to run. Slowly, carefully, she begins to back away, one paw at a time, never once looking away from him. He notices. Of course he notices, but he doesn't rise, he doesn't bark, he doesn't take one single step toward her. Instead, he does something she isn't expecting. He lowers his head to the floor and goes still. No sound, no movement, just his chest rising and falling in that slow, patient rhythm, as if he already understands something she doesn't yet. That fear cannot be argued with, only waited out. She doesn't trust it, not the stillness, not the quiet, not him. From the far corner of the room she watches. Her eyes never leave his face. Every twitch of his ear, every shift of his paw, is studied like a warning sign. To her, closeness is danger, distance is survival. And right now, survival means keeping every inch of space between them that the room allows. Minutes pass this way, the gold dog resting, the gray and white kitten frozen at the edge of the world she's just been dropped into, convinced that one wrong move from him could be the end of everything. But he doesn't move wrong. He doesn't move at all. And somewhere underneath all that fear, something small and unspoken begins. Not trust, not yet, but the first flicker of a question. Why isn't he coming closer? She doesn't have an answer, not today. Slowly, without taking her eyes off him, she backs into the shadow beneath the couch, disappearing from view. Only her eyes remain, catching the light, still watching the golden shape by the window. He never once looks away either. Two strangers, one room, and between them, a silence that hasn't decided yet what it wants to become. This was only their first meeting. Something is different this time, and she can feel it before she even understands why. When she sees him again, the same gold dog, the same patch of window light, her body doesn't drop into that low, frozen crouch the way it always has before. Her muscles are still tense, her ears are still turned toward every small sound in the room, but her paws move forward on their own, without the hesitation that used to hold her in place. She isn't being brave exactly. She's just walking. No one is pushing her forward. No one is asking anything of her. She crosses the room the way a creature crosses a bridge it built for itself, one small plank at a time, over the course of 2 quiet meetings that came before this one. The golden retriever watches her approach, and for the first time, there is no waiting stillness in his posture, just calm, familiar attention, the way you might watch someone you already know arriving through the door. She stops in front of him, close, closer than either meeting before. He lowers his head and sniffs her gently, unhurried, the same patient gesture he's offered every single time. And this time, she doesn't bolt, she waits. Nothing happens, no bark, no sudden movement, no chase. Just his breath, warm and slow, and the quiet space between two animals who have finally run out of reasons to be afraid of each other. Then he does something he hasn't done before. He leans forward, just slightly, and touches his nose to the top of her head. Soft, brief, barely more than a whisper of contact. And something in her settles. It isn't dramatic. There's no sound, no visible shift, nothing a stranger walking into the room would even notice. But behind those wide eyes, something has quietly rearranged itself. The fear that once colored every second she spent in this house has loosened its grip, just enough to let something else take its place. He isn't my enemy. He never was. For the first time since she arrived in this unfamiliar home, she stands beside him without the tension coiled in her legs, without her body angled toward the nearest escape. She simply stands there, small against his golden shoulder, still, unafraid. Then she does something that would have been unthinkable 3 meetings ago. She leans in and rubs her face against his. A small gesture, an enormous one. The same kitten who once pressed herself flat against the floor at the sight of him, who backed away with her fur raised and her whole body trembling with instinct, is now choosing, freely, gently, to be close to him. He doesn't move. He simply lets her stay, his breathing slow and steady beneath her, as if he'd known all along that this moment would come if he just gave her enough time to find it herself. Outside, the light shifts across the floor the way it always does in the late afternoon. Inside, something quieter has shifted too, something that took 3 meetings, 3 small acts of courage, and 1 very patient dog who never once demanded anything of her. She isn't watching him from across the room anymore. She's beside him. And for the first time, that's exactly where she wants to be. It's strange how quickly a world can rearrange itself. Just 3 meetings ago, she was a small shadow beneath the couch, watching a golden giant with wide, frightened eyes, convinced that closeness meant danger. Now, she doesn't wait by the edge of the room anymore. She doesn't measure the distance between them like something that needs defending. She simply walks up to him, no hesitation in her steps. No lowered body, no raised fur, none of the old instincts that once ruled every move she made in this house. She crosses the room the way you'd cross towards something familiar, because that's exactly what he has become. The golden retriever lifts his head as she approaches, and there's an easiness to the moment now, the kind that only comes after trust has already been earned. He doesn't have to prove anything anymore, neither does she. She presses against his side, small against his golden fur, and stays there. Not because she has to, because she wants to. He lowers his nose to her once more, the same gentle gesture he's offered from the very first day, and this time she leans into it instead of pulling away. There's no flinch left in her, no wide-eyed calculation of escape routes. Just the quiet comfort of a body she no longer sees as something to fear. What's remarkable isn't that she changed, it's that he never asked her to. Through all 3 meetings, he never rushed toward her, never forced a moment she wasn't ready for, never mistook her fear for something that needed fixing quickly. He simply stayed present, steady, patient in a way that asked nothing of her except time. And in the end, that patience is what did the work fear never could. She rubs against his fluffy shoulder now, tail curled loose and easy behind her, an entirely different creature from the one who once flattened herself against the floor at the mere sight of him. She lets him sniff her without flinching. She stays close without calculating the nearest exit. She has, in the smallest and most ordinary way, decided that this house and this dog are safe. No one made that decision for her. She made it herself, one small brave step at a time, across 3 quiet meetings that asked nothing of her but the freedom to move at her own pace. That's the part easy to miss, watching them now, curled together in the afternoon light like they've always known each other. It didn't happen all at once. There was no single moment where fear disappeared and trust took its place. It happened in fragments, a step forward, a step back, a sniff, a retreat, a first touch of noses that meant nothing, and then, suddenly, everything. The golden retriever never changed at all across those 3 meetings. He was patient at the beginning, and he was patient at the end. It was the kitten who had the distance to cross. And she crossed it, not because she was pushed, but because somewhere in all that quiet waiting, she finally understood there was nothing on the other side to be afraid of. Sometimes trust doesn't arrive in one big moment. Sometimes it arrives in tiny, brave steps, until one day, without noticing exactly when it happened, 2 strangers become family.